It's funny because even the desire to do so, the desire to practice even this teaching, even the teaching coming into your life, it is all karma. It is all grace. And again, it's not happening to you, the person. Even you being you, the person going through this thing, it is all part of the mental impression. It's all part of conditioning. It's all part of karma. So in self inquiry, it's almost like the individual, the seeming individual, is being dunked into the ocean of no definition, into the formless, into that which has no karma, to that which has no conditioning, mental impressions. So you see, the formless reality, that as which I'm awake and aware, nothing sticks to. For that is beyond knowledge. It is beyond appearance. It is beyond coming and going.
Karma is a very widely misunderstood topic. And in this video, I don't just want to give you another conceptual analysis on karma. I don't just want to give you something that will just become another concept about karma that you will carry on in your plethora of concepts. I wish to share with you in this video something that you can actually benefit from. A take, an approach on karma that you can apply directly into your day-to-day life. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Sunny. On this channel, we discuss awakening. We're very focused in self-inquiry, and my intention with these videos is to help you dissolve mind identification and awaken to your true formless self. In this video particularly, firstly, so of course the topic is on karma, but firstly, I'll be giving you the highest view on karma, meaning the higher paradigm. So viewing this topic from a higher paradigm, which is like that little snippet that you just watched in the beginning of this video, that shares with you that what you essentially are here and now is already transcendent of karma, is already free from all impressions. And we're going to be getting into that just now. And then after that, we'll be sort of making everything practical. So I'll share the approach to karma from a personal viewpoint, right? Things you can actually apply in your life and how you can snap out of the hypnosis of karma, of personal doership and bondage. So you're going to want to watch this video till the end so that you can first get the higher view and get the bigger picture, but then also you get the practical step-by-step techniques that you can follow. Here it goes.
I look at karma as like all of the appearance, the way that it is moving, what's happening, even the desire to act good. That is also part of the happening. The motivation to act badly, that is also part of the happening. So just looking at the entire passing show as the unfolding of karma, like you can look at it like a movie script and all the directing and all that stuff and the movie playing. That's what I sort of look at it as. It's just the mental impressions unfolding. Whatever the conditioning is, the personal theme is basically just the personal story unfolding. In self-inquiry, in the moment of being aware, and please practice right now, don't just listen. See that when you bring your attention to attention itself, when you contemplate, meaning when you're being one with awareness, you start to, in that moment, you're no longer an individual, meaning when you're contemplating being, there's nothing individual about being. Everything that you say is like sort of individual and all these sort of qualities that you can, because for something to be something, right, like an individual thing, it has to have qualities, it has to have characteristics, it has to have attributes. For example, this can be this and not this. It's defined in some way, shape, or form. But being, knowing, is not defined by any shape or form. It is the only thing in our experience, in the realm of experience, that is not defined by any shape or form. So when we sort of bring our attention to that, when we contemplate that, can you perhaps see that you're aware and awake as all of existence? Aware and awake as that which has no distinctions or definition. That everything that does have definition or distinction is something that you see from that point of view, or from that seeing, from that place of no individual, no definition, right? So form being observed from the standpoint of the formless. So in self inquiry, it's almost like the individual, the seeming individual, is being dunked into the ocean of no definition, into the formless, into that which has no karma, to that which has no conditioning, mental impressions. So you see, the formless reality, that as which I'm awake and aware, nothing sticks to, for that is beyond knowledge. It is beyond appearance. It is beyond coming and going. Whereas that, the whole show of, observing and observed, that whole show is just the unfolding of karma, the unfolding of mental impressions, where there is a seeming individual doing a sort of spiritual practice. But you have to, like, in moments of self-inquiry, we totally, right, that there's a reason it's called direct path. You totally throw out this whole concept of journey. And it's just in that moment contemplating your own source. And here, every seeming individual, when we contemplate our own source, we find nothing other than being awake as that formless, definitionless self. In that moment, like it's a clear seeing that that which I am is no karma. It has no impressions. You have to do your best to genuinely see in that moment, as what am I aware? Isn't it crazy that there's awareness? That's the greatest miracle. What even made it happen? We just have to revel in the mystery of awareness itself, of being aware, of being itself. That is insane. That mystery has to be far greater than the thing you're worrying about, the thing that didn't go your way. So this keeps you in the impression of, right, mental, like in conditioning. Being worried about your conceptual life in appearance keeps you in karma. And the greatest mental impression of all is seemingly being this individual person. That is the place of all of its starting, of the entire appearance. So in self-inquiry, it's almost like a direct, like forget all this journeying, forget all these talks on karma even, and just contemplate your own source and realize that you are already that reality beyond, prior to mental impressions, conditioning. Okay, now a useful way to look at karma also in sort of personal daily life. And this is this other half of the teaching. So the first part of the teaching asks you to see that you are already that which is prior to it. But now in your personal life, it becomes a process of self-observation. So this goes back to the point of not being good for being good's sake. Through the process of self-observation, you will start to see, and you already have in some degree, I'm sure, that when you act on your lower nature, what we discussed a few calls ago, when you act on those sort of, on, like, what we can just call ego, which is always self-seeking, it actually further entangles you in experience. You feel like, by because sometimes, let's say anger arises and you think that like it will make you happier and it will create harmony in your experience by like attacking someone or verbally assaulting someone you to get justice. You think that's going to solve your problems, but actually in the long term you see that it only creates more complexity. So we start to, through self-observation, start to see that when we start to act on our sort of egoic nature and like things that are self-seeking, where we emphasize the importance of being the individual that I am and gaining for myself at the expense of even others, you start to, through observation, see that actually that further entangles you into dysfunction. It creates disharmony in your experience and it keeps you stuck. Like the glue becomes stronger. Fear, worry, concern, basically the lower nature becomes more and more reinforced. Nobody is acting badly because they want to. We act badly because in the moment of that sort of impulse, that mental impression, that compulsiveness, it arises so strongly that we feel like the way that it is asking us to, what it is influencing us to do, it will make me happy. So you feel like even the things that we act on our lower nature, like all those are targeted at creating happiness. If we through self-observation started to see how our lower nature, although in the moment it feels like doing this or acting in this way or thinking about this or perceiving the situation in this way, it feels like it will create happiness, but actually it doesn't. If we really started to observe that, if we started to see how certain actions, certain things that we do, behaviors and belief systems actually further entangle us into karma, into the ball of mental impressions, then automatically we would not resonate with them. So that is the second half of this teaching, where it's like observe yourself. Observe yourself going through the highs and lows and the good and bads of life, all the seasons, and start seeing how, your lower nature, it's almost like that visual of like the devil on our shoulder and like the angel. The devil's always calling to you. Your lower nature is always calling to you. It wants you to fear, it wants you to be anxious, it wants you to hate, it wants you to be selfish, it wants you to be angry, it wants you to feel very pessimistic about the world. But when you give into it, every single time you reinforce personal identity, you reinforce the mold being karma, being mental impressions. And it creates dysfunction. What we usually refer to as like, oh, I'm being punished for my bad karma or whatever. So automatically, when you start to observe yourself and see that that creates dysfunction, what are you going to do? You're going to, through that, act on your higher nature, things that may be in the moment difficult to access, but through greater awareness, through meditation, you start to have the capacity to choose. So that in that way, right, that greater awareness, waking up, is like the cleansing of all of these mental impressions, the karma. Rather than trying to be good for good's sake and trying to avoid being bad because you fear some sort of judgment, live through the process of self-observation. It's funny because even the desire to do so, the desire to practice even this teaching, even the teaching coming into your life, it is all karma. It is all grace. And again, it's not happening to you, the person. Even you being you, the person going through this thing, it is all part of the mental impression. It's all part of conditioning. It's all part of karma. So in a way, yes, all is karma. All is mental conditioning, mental impression. And so even the teaching coming into our life, the desire to practice it, getting somewhere with it, all is grace. All is that unfoldment. So you see that removes the sense of being an individual, to which if the teaching is working or if I'm making spiritual advancement or not, like that entire unfolding itself is the unfolding of karma. And again, look at yourself as that formless witnessing with no preference or no resistance. Those just the floating eyeballs observing, to whom the person practicing good karma and inquiry is the object being witnessed. The story is being seen. And that also includes emotions, pain, includes even desire, includes fear, includes everything. When we see it in that way, it is a very simple approach, and it allows you to, number one, right, you are living in the conviction that you are prior to conditioning, and you're growing in that understanding through meditating on that which is prior to conditioning being. And second, there, through the process of self-observation in appearance, in form, you are sort of loosening away. You're sort of like just slipping away from the lower nature, which is like the 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 glue, the thing which keeps the mold of conditioning strong.
Another thing, another approach that will really help you with karma in your personal day-to-day life is taking life's plan to be the plan. Of course, we all have a mental plan for how we want our life to unfold, the things we want to happen, things we don't want to happen, the things we want to happen and how they should unfold, in what time frame they should unfold, and we have certain accolades that by this time I should have this and so on. Even on a day-to-day basis, on like just in one day, we have a whole trajectory, an expectation of how that day should unfold and how it should not. Here I will ask you is that you can do your planning. You can do your planning and you can try to execute that plan. But what happens, which is often very different than what you plan, what happens is life's plan. And instead of fighting that, instead of resisting that, instead of going against that, start to see the intelligence in that. Start to, rather than prematurely reacting to what happens, start to take life's plan to be the plan. Move with life's plan rather than against it. For when you move against what happens, what arises in the field of your awareness, you only become further entangled in karma, in mental impressions, in personhood. And again, what reacts is also the mind, which itself is just the bundle of mental impressions. So this can be observed from your true place of simply being aware. You can observe even the mind reacting. So your first initial response may be reaction, right, to something negative that happens. But you can observe that from a distance. And you can not give the mind's reaction even that much more significance anymore, You can simply observe it and let it be. And you'll see that these reactions themselves will start to dissolve until more and more your baseline natural perspective is always acceptance. Acceptance not only of what happens, but also the acceptance of the mental reaction, the emotional reaction. You let everything is as it is, as opposed to always fighting what is happening and then always also fighting your own mental and emotional response. One thing in this entangles you, right? This constant reacting entangles you further in mental impressions, whereas acceptance, observing without judgment, it disentangles you. It helps you slip out of the hypnosis, helps you wake up. By the way, if this video is bringing you value and helping you so far, please give me a thumbs up. It allows me to spread this video to more people. I'd really appreciate it. And after you're done watching this video, you can also check out all of my resources that I offer inside of the description box below.
Hi. No, I was just wondering because you were saying about you let those things come up, that they're kind of just coming up on their own. But I'm just wondering not everybody has had the same experiences. And I think I asked you this question before, is some people didn't experience certain things. And so their life, their emotions, certain emotions don't come up for them as much as they do for other people. And so I just wonder, how much is it like why would you have to do this process at all? Like let's say a child or something like that that hasn't had any bad experiences or anything like that. Like how are you just, I don't know how you can separate the experiences that are perhaps causing certain emotions and then just looking at the emotions as they're coming up. Like, I mean, I would think that some people have them and some people don't, and to different degrees. And like you might just be stuck experiencing them all the time because maybe you had a terrible experience in life, you know, like maybe you have PTSD or something like that. I was just wondering about
But that
that.
causality is only in the story. When the story is being looked at from the outside perspective, causality is itself part of it's part of the story, you know? So when you look at from the viewpoint of that the formless reality, awareness, causality is itself observed. It is nothing really this causing this. It's just one story, you know, one full script, one, it's just all sort of a spontaneous happening with no cause. And in that there's no, a useful way to look at it in this thing is like, of course, you know, I have pains that most people don't. Of course, you can really dwell in the fact that I'm going through this and I shouldn't be, and why am I going through this when someone else is totally having a simpler life? First of all, that's not really going to do anything for you. And second, it actually, again, it reinforces personal identity because you're worried about the person that you are experiencing what you're experiencing. And it will only further continue to reinforce that mold and that conditioning. It won't allow you to access the more expanded perspective of the self, which is prior to causality, prior to story, you know? And actually, I know for sure there are degrees to like, okay, like this person is having a worse experience than this person, but you can look at it like that. Even if a person is going through what you may seem as a very simple experience and they didn't have to go through these hardships that you had went through in life, trust me, it doesn't mean that they're not suffering. Everybody in this world is suffering. There's no happiness in this world for anybody doing anything. That's the funny part about it, because that is what allows you to, or motivates you to transcend. There's no happiness in the world. I'm not trying to be pessimistic when I say that. It's just observe it. Try to find happiness. How many years of experience do we have on this call between everybody? Has anybody found it in anything that they're doing or anything that they are? We're not talking about pleasure. We're not talking about, you know, like things that momentary satisfy you, because of course the cycle of pain and pleasure goes. But like we're speaking lasting happiness. On this call, some people have had good experiences in their childhood. Some people have had traumatic experiences. But is anybody really happy? Is anybody feeling like, no, life's not like, you know, not the way that I want it to be, not the way that I should have gone? That's the experience of everybody. So everybody's going through their own sort of challenge. And you can't necessarily look at like, oh, mine is in degree worse than yours, because again, first of all, is very, very personal. We're again and again reinforcing, oh, you know, this person that I am having to go through this story. You have the only way to find true understanding and sort of clarity from this is taking the viewpoint of the impersonal, that which can see the entire thing as just a passing show with no involvement of its own. And that is what you're asked to do, even in, you know, in the acceptance teaching, in the process of self-observation. So of course, yeah, this pain may be coming because, oh, I went through this accident in the past, but actually just, so forget even the accident in this moment. Whatever sensation is arising, whatever mental reaction that's arising to the sensation, all is observed. The person going through it, yeah, you know, I'm suffering it from that point of view. But from the, when I truly observe it in the moment of pure observing, you are seeing from that standpoint, which has no preference, which has no resistance, which is beyond story. And that is the dissolving of the further entanglement, the further karma. That is you slipping out of karma.
I also just wanted to add one point to this, is that when you're looking at other people and you see some people are having extraordinary, pleasurable lives, don't envy them. Of course, there are some people who are not going through the same level of hardship, although everybody's going through their challenges, as I'm saying just now also, but not everybody's going through the same level of hardship. Still, don't envy those who have a better life in appearance, because pain is your servant. If you are going through this process and you're like, why am I going through so much pain and so many emotions, and why do these things keep happening to me, and why maybe this illness hasn't healed, and why is my money situation like this? All of this hardship is there as a reminder that this existence, this appearance, is limited. Those who have it too good, although in this lifetime you may be looking at them and being envious of them, you're actually better off. And I don't mean to compare in that way, but it should be said that don't envy those people. They are happier in appearance, yet oftentimes they are blinded by the appearance. They are blinded in personhood. They are totally invested. Their sense of self, their sense of reality is totally invested in that which will be taken away from them. So when it comes to these awakening principles, why do we have to take the higher view? Why do we have to look at things in an impersonal way? Because we can't compare in this way. Because we are no longer just doing this awakening stuff and meditation for personal gain. We're not doing this to gain something that we can lose. We're doing this to recognize our true self, that transcendent reality which is beyond appearance, beyond what comes and goes. And for that, pain, limitation will serve you, and it will make you more and more and more earnest in your search for truth.